Welcome to Is This Thing Working?
Good morning.
Happy Monday, everyone. We are so glad to be here with you this morning. How was your weekend, James?
It was good. Wasn't long enough. Never is.
Never is long enough. I know. We got a lot done, though. We received more chickens. We now have 24.
Yep, 24 chickens.
24 chickens, and they're so fun. So we went out and we did a lot of work in the yard this weekend and gotten everybody ready because we had so much rain. It was yucky outside. So it was a busy weekend, but it was a busy at-home weekend.
Right.
And we went to a basketball game, one of our grandbaby's basketball games. That was, well, two of them. That was fun to be able to go sit and enjoy a basketball game.
It was.
It was fun.
Yep. I got the Monday morning blues here, if you can't
Oh,
tell.
my goodness. He has been, not why. He's been gripey. He's been gripey this morning. But it's all fun. I like to make fun of him when he does that. So, anyway, what we want you to do is please share, like, and follow the show with all of your friends. We appreciate everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for all our listeners, our 13 listeners that we have.
Is this thing working?
Now we're going to find out because we're going to be talking about corruption this week.
Right.
We had some breaking news over the weekend. The House of Representatives have put forth 2 articles of impeachment for Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, we'll talk about that. And then, have you heard about the trucker convoy that's headed to the southern border?
The Take Our Border Back Convoy.
Take Our Border Back Convoy. Well, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to listen to a video.
Yeah. That's going to be a cool little topic of discussion. I know y'all are probably tired of hearing us talk about the border, but this is a movement, man. And this is what needs to happen. The entire federal government and the entire world need to know where the American people stand on the border.
That's
being
exactly
wide
right.
open like it is. They've
Yeah.
got to understand where we stand.
You
we're
know,
not fooling around with you people no more about it.
No. And I think it's time that the people do to stand up, not just Texas, but the people of America, because the border town is in every city and county, country.
Since
state.
2001, since 9/11, 2001, all we've heard about is national security, national security, national security. And then here we are now, and you open our borders wide open, and Secretary Mayorkas go, oh, the borders are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's how crazy things are. And then we have a couple of Texas things going on here. McKinney Mayor pushes for 3rd term.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into that and ask a couple of questions.
Tries to sneak the vote in is what he actually tried to do, and that's the big story in it.
Yes, so we're going to be talking about that. And then, last but not least, we'll talk about a Texas scorecard had put out an article that we will go over, and it's a huge Texas win.
Let's get this thing rolling.
Let's get it rolling.
So let's start off about the trucker convoy that's coming. Starting today, is today the 29th?
Today is the 29th, yes.
Starting today, there's going to be a truckers convoy heading to the border at Eagle Pass. They're going to actually meet up in Dripping Springs. Everybody's going to begin to meet up in Dripping Springs, Texas, which is a little place right outside of Austin, the New Bronzeville area right outside there. And they're going to travel from there to Eagle Pass. And then they're going to stop about, 30 miles from the border.
Yeah, we're going to let you listen to a video that we have. We're going to start off with a video of Representative Keith Self explaining more. Here, listen.
Let's talk about this trucker convoy. You brought this up just a moment ago. So this is called Take Our Border Back. It kicks off Monday. So you've got multiple starts. You've got trucks leaving from Virginia Beach that are going to go through Texas, Arizona, California. On the website, it describes the event as a peaceful assembly, encouraging all freedom-loving and law-abiding Americans to attend. I saw that you posted on X to raise awareness about that. You obviously just mentioned it a moment ago. I understand that you're going to be speaking once they get to Eagle Pass. I also see that it's going to go through Yuma. It's going to go San Ysidro, California as well. 700,000 vehicles. That's the prediction here. How do you keep that peaceful and on track. That's a lot of trucks.
Well, the people that have organized this are the same people that went from California to D.C. with the truckers. I understand we're going to be joined by Canadian truckers. So these people are committed to a peaceful demonstration that we've had enough. The American people have had enough. We're demanding that the Biden administration do its job, enforce the laws on the books, and secure our border. 8 million people during the Biden administration. That's more than the population of Ohio. This is the time for us to rise up as the American people and demand that our president do his job. This should be a peaceful movement of the American people, joined by other nations if they want to come. This is the Canadian farmers, truckers. This is the German farmers. This is the French farmers. This is the Dutch farmers. This is a movement well beyond the United States that people are simply tired of the overreach of their federal governments, and we're pushing back. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Yeah, I mean, you hear what he said. The people are fed up.
Yeah, and the border has become so controversial, so much so that everyday Americans, truckers, they're just getting tired of our government telling us what we need to be doing, what they need to do for us.
Right.
You know, actually, they're not even trying to secure the border.
No, they're not.
It is wide open, you know, and it's just a F to every American here. So good going. Good going to these truckers and the Americans who are standing up. And like he said, people from Canada.
People from 2 countries are doing this. Even the people in Canada are fed up with it. And if you think that this is just our country problem, look at the big picture. It's a problem for us. It's a problem for Canada. It's a problem for Mexico.
Yes.
And I wish that these 3 nations would work together to solve this. But the first thing we got to do is act in the correct way and follow the laws that we have on our books. And right now, what we've got going on is Mayorkas not taking care of his job, not doing his job, being derelict.
Very much so. Very much so that they're impeaching him now. They're going to vote this week on impeaching the secretary.
And they need to. And they need to. And I you know what, we've also read articles that said that the lawyers on Mayorkas' side, the ones representing him, have said that he hasn't committed a crime. And maybe that's true. Maybe he hasn't committed a technical crime, but he has not done his job. Point well being is, if I walk into a job today that you've hired me to do and you've appointed me to do, and I walk into there and at the end of the day I've done absolutely nothing, and you call me in there to ask me, well, about the day and the day's performance and the day's numbers, and I go, oh, everything's fine, and you're looking at the numbers, you're going to go, man, you're lying to me. This is not fine. If you can't do your job, I'm going to fire you today, and it is completely justified
To fire someone that isn't following the rules and laws that they're supposed to be following. You know, my point on this is, I get that this is his job and do his job, the laws that we have on the books already, but he is breaking the laws
by not enforcing
willfully,
them.
Willfully forcing illegal immigration on Americans.
Exactly.
Every day.
If a police officer, because of the law, if a police officer stands there and watches you break the law, turns around, refuses to arrest you and follow the law that's been given to us, does he deserve to be fired?
Yes.
Is it technically okay to say, dude, you're breaking the law too?
That's exactly right.
That's where we ought to be with this. And that's the crazy thing about this, is they continue to gaslight us.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm not a Marjorie Taylor Greene fan, but I do commend her for her doggedness in trying to get these impeachment articles in front of the rest of the representatives. And I sure hope that they stand up and do what's right for the country. You know, I'm really sad that it took until an election year for them to actually stand up and do what they're supposed to should have done years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah.
You know, it's really disgusting.
We hear news articles about people saying, well, this is the worst that it's ever been. At our highest, there was only a couple 100,000 crossing the border per year. Okay, well then, if that's your job is to keep that number there or lower, then anything that past that point is a dereliction of your job. You're not doing your job. You deserve to answer questions as to why you're not getting your job done. And you should be able to sit there and offer solutions as to what you can do to make things better. These guys ain't done none of that.
They have done none of that. And another thing that really just burns me, is that everybody, you could sit there and you could impeach Mayorkas all you want. You've brought him in. He's told lies over and over and over. And American people have seen this and everything. But you yourself let 8 million invaders into our country before standing up.
Exactly.
So
this is
you are part of the problem.
That's exactly good, because they are.
Yes.
Mayorkas is a problem. He deserves to be fired. But the fact that it's took you 3 years to do that tells me for 3 years, whatever your excuse is, you ain't been doing your job either. Primary time is coming.
Yes.
Let's get it.
It's time to get rid of all of you.
Yes.
Because all you're going to do is get up there and play games. And this is an election year, so all of a sudden it's like very important. It wasn't important for 3 whole years while 8 million people were coming over here and invading us, while fighting age men were coming over here and invading us. So to me, it feels like you did this on purpose, every one of you, and I don't think it's over. I think that
it's far from over.
I think it's going to cause a lot more issues in the future.
Yeah.
Because of what you've done.
Right.
It's all on you. It's all on your shoulders, every one of you. But we're going to move on from that. Yeah, we were on a rant there. We have a lot to say about the border.
Denise told you right off the bat I was grumpy, and I think that's probably what I was grumpy about. I had to get my rant out of the way.
There we go.
But we got more corruption, since that's what we're basically talking about, is corruption. One of the things that we've seen this weekend in the Texas news also is that the mayor of the city of McKinney, Texas, is pushing for a plan to extend city officials' term limits. This doesn't sound like a big deal, does it? But the way that it went about happening is the big deal, and that's what the story is. Here we go. Texas Scorecard says that McKinney Mayor George Fuller is pushing a proposal that will allow him and other city officials to hold their seats for 3 consecutive 4-year terms, an increase from the current limit of 2 consecutive terms. During a work session on Tuesday, Fuller and the rest of the city council discussed holding a charter amendment election this May to extend the term limits for their offices. The agenda for the work session listed a potential city charter election, but excluded the purpose of the proposed election. So I guess what they called that was a blank item vote? Is that what it was called?
Yeah. It was a blank item vote, as if they were trying to sneak one past us.
Right.
And then this Lee Moore, she said she's
a McKinney resident.
Yeah, she's a resident. She says it's disappointing but not surprising. She said she expects the push to extend term limits was prompted by last May's failed airport bond election as yet another way to get the commercial airport pushed through by keeping the same folks in office that are supporting the airport. The people voted that out. This goes along with the corruption that we're talking about.
Yes.
There's always a way that these government officials go around the people to get what they want.
Well, and what's bad with it is here's their attitude, and it's even on a local level, as you can see right here. Mm-hmm. This is the attitude. One of the things that she said right at the very end of her comments was that term limits help prevent any one individual from accumulating massive power. And that is true. 12 years in one position is a long time. You can accumulate quite a bit of influence and quite a bit of power during that time.
Yes.
You can get yourself invested in a lot of things. And
that's one of the reasons why McKinney themselves has set the 2 terms.
Yes.
Because they don't want someone to come in and use their power to get like what's going on right here.
And here's their general attitude. This is what's crazy. Here's their general attitude from the mayor and his attorney. Mark Hauser, a lawyer who has acted as the city's attorney since 1984, said holding the term limit elections in 2024 will allow current city officials whose second terms expire in 2025 to run again for the same office, assuming McKinney voters approve the proposed charter amendment. Mayor Fuller was first elected in 2017 and is set to be term limited out of office in May of 2025. And the only way he's going to be able to do that is by them passing this right here to change the city charter. Fuller denied charges from the citizens that the proposed change is self-serving.
Well, it certainly looks like it's self-serving if it's happening within his term.
Yep. Well, this is what he says about it. He goes, I have a fan base out there that is trying to make this all about me, Fuller said. Everyone I'm thinking of right now, and that fan base I'm referring to, I don't know any of them that serve or do anything in the community other than sit on the sideline outside the arena, throwing mud and making the accusations like they do, including the one that was here today. There isn't a person in this town that knows about this that doesn't think it's self-serving. McKinney resident Micah Russian responded saying that there isn't a person in this town that knows about this that doesn't think it's self-serving. Even those who might be for it knows it's nothing but self-serving. If they want to go ahead and do this in good faith, they should exclude themselves if they ever want to be taken seriously by any educated voter ever again.
That's right. That right there is what should happen.
Exactly right. If you're going to do this, then let's propose this city charter amendment to where
For the next one.
for the next first-term mayor.
That's it. That's the only way that this would work at all.
Exactly.
Because we're not saying that you can't change your own laws. You can change your own laws. That's what America is all about. You can change and redo and, you're more than, hey, it's America. Anyway, but you cannot tell me or James that this isn't self-serving.
Yeah, and what they were doing was on the up and up. It wasn't.
It's not. So I think that what we had to say, about them, doing it and then letting the next one come in and serve the 3 terms.
Right. Here's even more of the same kind of thing going on. In 2021, we had a referendum on the ballots in the state of Texas.
Yeah, so what was it? Referendum 2.
Proposition 2.
Proposition 2. I'm sorry.
When Proposition 2 came up on the ballot in 2021, the purpose of Proposition 2 was an amendment to the Texas Constitution to authorize counties to issue bonds to fund the development of transportation and infrastructure projects in blighted areas. The amendment prohibited counties that issue bonds for such purposes from pledging more than 65% of the increase in ad valorem tax revenues to repay the bonds. It also prohibited the funds from the bond issue to be used for constructing, operating, maintaining, or acquiring a toll road. And at the time of the election, the state constitution authorized incorporated cities and towns to issue bonds for infrastructure and transportation projects in blighted areas. Cities and towns were first authorized to issue bonds for such purposes in 1981 with the passage of Proposition 1. So what that's saying is that the cities and the towns, they were the ones that issued the bonds for improvements in infrastructure, but that was only maintained within the city. What this Proposition 2 tried to do was to give them the authority to issue bonds on a county level, which in turn would have done what? Increase people's property taxes.
Exactly.
And people didn't want that. So when they brought this up,
the language in the proposition did not state that they were going to raise the taxes.
Exactly. It proposed this, but it did not tell where the money was going to be allocated from.
Yeah, it called it finance development,
which was not exactly what it was supposed to do. That was not exactly truth. What the truth was they were going to recoup that money through the raising of county property taxes, which everybody knows when you live outside the city, you pay a way less tax rate.
Right.
So that wording was misleading, and it passed 63%.
Yes.
When it did, a grassroots organization called Texans Uniting for Reform and Freedom, or TURF, we the people, and this was their statement, Texans Uniting for Reform and Freedom, or TURF, Grassroots America, We the People, and True Texas Project filed a lawsuit against the Texas Secretary of State, Jane Nelson, arguing that the election results for Proposition 2 were invalid because the ballot language was misleading to voters because it did not contain language regarding taxes being used to pay bonds issued by the county in transportation reinvestment zones. And it was appealed to the 7th District Court of Appeals.
Yeah, and the ballot language that was approved by voters stated a constitutional amendment authorizing a county to finance the development or redevelopment of transportation or infrastructure in unproductive, underdeveloped, or blighted areas in the county. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you even understand what that means?
Well,
Really?
that means they wanted to improve their infrastructure, but they wanted to do it outside the county and have the county residents pay for it when that's not how it's ever been done.
Exactly.
They tried this same stunt back in 2011, and it got voted down then correctly.
Yes.
So they
Yeah.
flipped the wording on it this time around, trying to mislead you into it.
Yes.
They
And
took
see
it-
what they do? Like what you said, they mislead you by the wording of these bond issues a lot of times. So you have to actually sit down and study before you go and vote on these things to find out what is really going on. You just don't go and just say yes just because someone told you to. You don't know what's going on. They love to mislead you on
Yep.
these ballot referendums.
To get what they want.
To get what they want.
Same thing the McKinney Mayor and them were trying to do.
Exactly. That's corruption to me, and that needs to be fixed.
Yes, it all does.
You know, it really does. But in its opinion, the court noted that the language was factually misleading. As can be seen, nothing was said about how the development or redevelopment of transportation or infrastructure would be financed or who would fund it. Hidden from view was the ultimate responsibility for payment and its positioning over the voter's head like the sword of Damocles? In other words, whether it be taxation without representation, or should 5% appear for too small, be thankful, I don't know, take it all.
Right.
Or there goes a shirt off my back, or I'm paying taxes, but what am I buying? This is part of what the opinion kind of went on about. It was to quote songs by the Beatles and Johnny Cash.
Exactly.
They said this was just way over the top. You know, so good going.
Yep.
Good going Americans who stood up. And we're going to continue on with corruption for the rest of the week. We have several more corruption stories to tell you about. Articles.
Examples.
We have George Soros is coming up. You know, he's full of corruption.
Yeah.
I have an article also that I'm going to go over that is going to tell you about the Democrat donors and how they are making our elections so good this year, let me tell you. And then Ken Paxton put out a tweet this weekend about the question, do you know the names of your judges in your state? And anyway, but he's got 3 judges that we're going to promote. So that's going to be later on in the week.
And as always, the reason we bring all this stuff to you, we want you to be informed, and we want to encourage you to become engaged in the grassroots in your local areas. Just like with the McKinney story, you can see if we're not paying attention on the local levels,
it's just going to get right.
That's
by
where
us.
they come in.
Same thing with this Proposition 2 that we just went over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did this to Texans back in 21, and it's just now being solved. You know, so we really need to pay attention to what's going on around us.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to, take our
Overtake us.
money every which way they can.
Right.
So,
Is this thing working?
time to rise up.
Well, hey, everybody, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned some things about what's going on around us in the nation and in your communities. You know, we couldn't do this without your continued support either. We appreciate all of you showing up, taking the time to listen to us today. So please, like I say, make sure to hit the like button, share our show with all your friends. We'll see you next time on Is This Thing Working? And as always, I'm James, and that's my lovely co-host over there.
Denise,
And we'll see you next time.
we're out.